Hey, welcome back to another video. We are starting off July right with a few fun books, some nice summer reads, so come along and let me know what you think of these books in the comments below. I really would appreciate it. Alright, I finally got myself to read The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna, and it is a Kristen Hanna book. I've read a couple others, and if you like her books, you're gonna love this. It's great that way. It's a historical fiction book following a quiet village in France and two sisters who make it through the war. One tries to keep her child safe and children around her safe, and the other one wants to be more daring and runs out and is part of an underground resistance. So it's historical fiction. It's based on some reality. It's very engaging. I got through this so quick, just, couldn't put it down. Very fun that way. I just have mixed feelings about historical fiction in general. I feel like there's so many good, true stories, things that have actually happened, and taking those true stories and putting them into historical fiction, are you kind of cheapening them? I don't know. I have a little bit of mixed feelings. I do know there's a lot of criticisms based on the accuracy of some of this in the book. Just inconsistencies that the author could and should have caught, but didn't. Just things about the weather, time it would take to travel somewhere, just little things like that. It was really enjoyable. If you like historical fiction, 100% you're gonna love this. If you're not super into historical fiction and you're reading this really critically, you might see things wrong with it. But yeah, highly recommend if you like that. I thought it was pretty good. Okay. So, The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix was really fun to start out with. Super a premise that I was on board with. So we have Patricia in a small southern town where everybody knows everybody, and she is part of a book club where they read books about murder, true crime. Now, everything takes a bit of a turn when she starts being convinced that her neighbor has something wrong with him, some sort of crime that he must be perpetuating, and she slowly starts thinking that he's probably a vampire. And I am so on board with all that. I thought the tone of this book was really cutesy, really fun, 100%. Loved it at the beginning. We start getting halfway through some kind of disturbing horror type scenes, which is kind of okay. It was a little bit more a la Dracula, which is fine. Disturbing, but not too over the top. I wouldn't want to watch a movie of it, but I was okay reading about it. But by the end, there were too many disturbing things for me. It was a little over the top for me. Also, by the end, I also felt a lot of anxiety. Have you read those books where the main character, nobody believes them? And you just feel this, okay, please somebody listen, they're going crazy, this is so hard. That's what this was like. So that part was hard, and some of the disturbing things toward the end were too much for me. But I really liked the beginning. So mixed feelings on this. I can't really recommend it because I found the last third of the book to be a little over the top gruesome, but it was kind of fun. So A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson was a really fun read. If you want a good YA murder mystery, this one, I do recommend it. I thought it was really fun. We follow Pippa for her senior project as she decides to reinvestigate a murder that took place 5 years before. Everyone in the town believes that Andy Bell was murdered by her boyfriend Sal Singh before Sal took his own life. But Pippa never felt like that sat right. She decides that she wants to prove Sal's innocence for the sake of his family, and she is going to reinvestigate. So we get the fun murder mystery and a cute wrap-up. I was very on board. I feel like the end, some of the actions of Pippa didn't feel super believable, and I thought the last chapter was very corny. Why was there a school assembly to wrap up the case. That seemed a little over the top for me. But all in all, it was a really cute book, and I do recommend it if you want a kind of a fun murder mystery young adult novel. Clara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro is an interesting sci-fi book. We follow Clara, an AF. She is an artificial friend, so she is a robot with amazing observational abilities, and she watches everything and learns, and we see things through her eyes, and we start out with her in the store to when she is purchased and the child that she is supposed to take care of, and it's a limited perspective, but it really works. I really enjoyed it. I feel like it does what I want a sci-fi book to do, especially one about robots, and that is makes you think about the nature of humanity, and I think that was excellent. I think it was also written in a way that was very accessible, and I noticed this. I've read a few other books by Kazuo Ishiguro, and his books are very accessible despite whatever genre they're in. They have a very conversational tone, and while it's a sci-fi book, or his other one's a fantasy book, you don't have to be involved in those genres and really love those genres to enjoy this book. I think that it's a very good tale for anyone who wanted to pick it up. Now, I do have some major complaints with how the ending turned out, and I have noticed this as a literary device in the other books by Kazuo Ishiguro. And what he does is his voice is very true to life, and things don't feel contrived or pushed forward for the sake of the plot. They feel very organic and natural. But what that does is a lot of interesting things are hinted at in this book. A lot of parts of the society that I would love to explore more. A lot of cool ideas that could have happened in the plot. And instead, by the end, I felt very unsatisfied. I feel like it raised more questions than it answered. And it left me feeling a little frustrated, just that I didn't feel like enough happened in the book to justify it by the end. So I found it very frustrating the last couple chapters, but the rest of it was a really good book. I really enjoyed it. I think it was very well written and had a really unique perspective. So Liz Braswell writes a series of books called The Twisted Tales, and they are published by Disney, and they are based on classic favorite Disney movies. So the one that I read yesterday was As Old as Time, and it is based on, if you can guess, Beauty and the Beast. Now, I kind of liked the idea of it, but this was just bad. It was so bad. So the twist in this was, what if Belle's mother was the enchantress that cursed the beast? I think if this had been written as a book not based on the Disney movie, but used this twist, it could have been very engaging, but the Disney movie aspect of it was so distracting. It used dialogue, characters exactly from the Disney movie, and that just felt weird. And then when the author would write her own dialogue, have you ever cringed when you read something like, this isn't how people talk? That's how the whole thing was. It read like a really bad fan fiction. I mean, I just couldn't even figure out what the audience was on this, because my initial thought was, all right, I can see how this book would be aimed towards middle grade, younger readers who love Disney movies, want to get into reading maybe more complex books. But then, towards the end, I mean, we're having some descriptions of torture and murder. Is that really aimed towards a younger audience? I just couldn't figure out who this was for. It read like somebody who loved Disney just wrote what they wish would have happened, their alternate universe, and I don't think it worked. I don't think I'll be reading any of the other ones. If you love Disney and just want it to keep going, go ahead, read this. You'll have fun. It's just not well done at all. Thank you for listening to all my book ramblings. As always, thank you so much to the beautiful and talented Sydney. I have her Instagram linked below. She is very talented and I appreciate her help editing these videos. If you have any thoughts on these books, please let me know. I would love to hear your opinions, especially if you got something out of these books that I missed. And I will see you all in the next video.